Do you want to learn how the Matrix is targeting you and your masculinity?
Top G.
Do you want truth about the unseen forces of darkness, Jeffrey Epstein, the Hillary Clinton family, and everything in between?
Top G.
Do you want to drive around 6 different Bugattis because climate change is for pussies?
Top G.
Then you need my new Andrew Tate comic book, only available for a limited time at 1-800-555-TOP-G. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol, and that's right, Andrew Tate is releasing his own comic book. That is not what I had on my bingo list of things that were going to happen in 2023, but the news is fascinating nonetheless. And like I said, this is a nerdy news channel. Your boy's a nerd, comics are nerdy. Let's talk about the new Andrew Tate Top G comic. Andrew Tate launches his own comic book series with a ridiculous price tag. And yep, here it is. Andrew Tate, the Top G comic. Although he looks more like Michael Jordan here. And frankly, I got real no issue with the price. I mean, it is a ridiculous price, but I think there's a little bit of genius to that. No, more than anything, I have a problem with him making a comic book when he makes posts on Twitter like this. No, I've never seen Star Wars. Like, you realize that comics are just as nerdy, if not nerdier than Star Wars. If you're trying to make fun of individuals with a bit of a nerdy persuasion in your Twitter posts, why are you marketing toward those same nerds? Like, I feel like you don't really know your customer base. But then again, what do I know about, customers and marketing? I'm not the millionaire that Andrew Tate is, so fair enough, he might have something on me. Let's get into this article. Andrew Tate's been busy since he was released from the custody of Romanian police, and his most recent venture is a comic book series, Top G. Breaking Illusions is the first issue of the series, and it's got an eye-watering price tag of almost $100. That's right, $100 for this comic book right here. Now, to be fair, we ain't seen the inside cover. These could have all been done by, like, Leonardo da Vinci, because Andrew Tate got himself a time machine in that prison that he was in, and he got to go back and have the man himself who did the Mona Lisa illustrate the pages of this glorious comic. It could be totally worth the hundo that he is asking for it. I mean, what does a comic cost anyway? $3-4, sometimes 10 to 12 for a premium comic? Those are 32 pages. We don't even know how many pages this is. It looks thicker than 32, so maybe it is actually worth the $100. But more than that, more than anything, I think this is brilliant. Remember when Kanye West took plain white t-shirts and sold them for $50? Andrew Tate was like, hold my Bud Light. I'm gonna charge people $100 for a comic book. Take that, Kanye. I can one-up you at your own stupid game. Like, that's the only vibe I'm getting from this. Over the years, Andrew Tate has put his time into many a business venture. From his Hustlers University business courses meant to teach others how to make more money to help operate casinos in Romania, the man certainly has an eye for business at times. I will say, I'm very surprised that, Dextro here, and I'm not really familiar with Dextro, is being so nice about his business ventures, so, you know what, something for journalistic integrity, I'll give you that. Following his release from the custody of Romanian authorities, Tate has returned to content creation, and has been looking for new opportunities. However, in his most recent business venture is a bit bizarre. I mean, maybe bizarre by Andrew Tate standards, someone who, prides himself on being ultra masculine and having nothing to do with nerdy stuff, but content creators really often do make comics. I mean, Eric July, the Rippaverse is a very common one. I've had several indie comic creators on my show. Run DMC has made a comic, and I mean, what is making music if not content creation? So when Run DMC gets into making comics, you know that it's not exactly out of the ordinary for celebs to make comics. I mean, it wasn't, what's her name, the girl from the Halloween movies who used to be an incredible hottie with a body, and now it's just an old lady screaming about climate change. Jamie Lee Curtis, that's her name. Wasn't she recently at Comic-Con promoting her new graphic novel? So I don't know if this is as bizarre as everyone wants to think it is, aside from the fact that it's coming from Andrew Tate of all people. On July 27th, that is right, the day of our Lord and Savior, the Queen of the Tomboys, Cult Classic Cage's birth, on the birthday of Cult Classic Cage, this was announced. Andrew Tate announced his very own Top G comic series, and revealed the stories about him fighting against the forces of the Matrix and corporate tyranny, which, to be fair, actually does sound like a fun read. Like, I don't know if this is going to be like an autobiographical, serious comic, or if it's going to really fictionalize things. So we're going to see like Andrew Tate in like some ripped up leather pants, completely all shirtless with like gang tattoos, literally fighting anthropomorphized versions of corporate tyranny. Like, it'll be some faceless bad guys with barcodes on their forehead, and he's just like punching them out with his MMA skills and making sure that these corporate individuals don't take the women that he's having perform on OnlyFans sites or those cam sites or whatever. He's like, that's right, you stay away from my whores. Like, I don't know, it seems like this could be a really off-the-wall fun adventure with some actual messaging in there about, corporate tyranny, and there could be some sort of, message to it. I think that if done right, this could serve to be like a pop culture piece of history. I don't know if in a good way or a bad way, but I'm actually somewhat interested in this. Not particularly because I'm an Andrew Tate fan, but because I guess this article is right. It is bizarre. I mean, who doesn't want to say that they own the Andrew Tate Top G comic book where he's basically a literal superhero in beating up tyrannical forces? Like, it's going to be $100, so you know not a lot of people are going to own this because who's going to pay $100 for a comic book? I might be the sucker here, but it just seems like something that you look back on in 50 years and be like, do you guys remember 2023? Shit was wild. In what appears to be a somewhat autobiographical story. However, the real head scratcher is the $97 price tag. That is the real head scratcher. If it's $97, why not just add the $3 to make it $100? Like, why 97? That's such a weird number to stop on. Look at this man here, looking all like throbbing and sexy, holding his comic book version of himself in these probably $300 shades. Like, I don't know what to make of this. There's no way even he is taking this seriously. Like, I know Andrew Tate thinks of himself as like the greatest hero, the man's man, the one person standing up against an army of government and corporate tyranny and oppression, but he did a photo shoot holding a comic book with his own face on it in front of LED red lights, making him look more like a Sith Lord, like crossed with a Fast and the Furious movie. I'm so confused what Darth Diesel thinks here has to do with his comic, how this is a good look. Like, but again, it actually has me interested. It makes me wonder, is this worth buying? Because a man who's taking this seriously is either completely lacking all self-awareness, or he is so 100% in on the joke and so committed to the joke that he knows that people like me are going to just flock to it because they can't figure it out. I'm not smart enough. He might be part of the same matrix he claims to fight against because he is in on the joke, and there are people like me who claim to be comic book fans on the internet who don't know if he's actually in on it. Andrew Tate sells Top G comic for almost $100. Andrew Tate's official landing site for D&G Comics, the label under which he's publishing the Top G comics, there are some details about what exactly these comics will be about. The site certainly isn't shy about the fact that the comic is about Tate and his struggles in recent times. Tate explained the story of the comic is meant to tell about his ongoing fight with the Matrix, but my question is, are they going to fictionalize it and dramatize it? That's what I need to know. Are we just going to get a comic book retelling of what he claims the events were in real life, a very just autobiographical comic, or are we gonna get some over-the-top, just smashing levels of what the fuckery starring a fictionalized Andrew Tate, like something out of Shaq Fu? That's my dream. I would need to own this comic if that is what is actually in it. If you give me Shaq Fu, the Andrew Tate experience, your boy will drop the hundo. They don't want you to know the truth. They want you living in a mental cage, chained by weak mindset. I became the superhero of the youth by telling the truth and teaching young men to be strong. I'm trying to do that weird Andrew Tate, like half American, half British accent he has that for the life of me I can't place. He sounds like you guys know Tom DeLonge's singing voice in recent Blink-182, you know, don't waste your time on me. He sounds like that, but speaking instead of singing, and if Tom DeLonge actually had testicles. Anyway, now I'm being punished for it in real time. These stories reflect the harsh truths of the Matrix, how I escaped it, and what I predict they will try next. Tate also claims he's passing on some of my most vital life lessons through these powerful stories. I actually kind of applaud this because everyone knows the value of telling stories, the power that stories have. There's a reason that all these years later, literal hundreds of years, centuries later, we still have things like the hero's journey. Stories resonate with people. Stories get people excited, get people moving, get people talking. So for him to say these are powerful stories, could he be full of crap? Sure, but also, the dude is a multimillionaire for a reason. He clearly has business sense. He probably understands the value of a good story. He probably looks around and sees movies that work and sees movies that don't work and sees books that are sold like Harry Potter, sees stories that have lasted for ages like Lord of the Rings or James Bond, and probably has an idea of the power of stories because you don't get to be in his position for, as long as you've been in and not understand what good marketing is and maybe even what good storytelling is. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm starting to understand where he's coming from here. Considering the previews of the comic on Tate's site feature him doing things like being targeted by snipers and stopping bullets with his mind. No. way. I need this. If anyone needs this, it's your boy. And frankly, I think all of us need this. Every single person watching this video, we need to all buy this comic, because you can claim you're the person who owns the Andrew Tate comic where he stops bullets with his mind. That is incredible. I'm actually beyond surprised that he has enough sense of humor about himself that he would put a comic out like this, where there are going to be people that are roasting him, but then there's going to be people. That's it. He's in on the joke. I think I finally figured it out. I think I'm in on the joke. It's meant to be taken seriously, as much as the messages about the Matrix that he believes are real, that frankly he's probably spot on about. We all know, Epstein didn't kill himself, so there might be some truth to some of the Andrew Tate stuff, regardless of what you think about him as a person. I know I'm not exactly a fan of him as a person, but there are some times where he drops some truth, and you just gotta accept it for what it is. And if he is doing this in a way that's so self-aware that he's willing to make fun of himself to get this message out, I kind of gotta respect it. I mean, I don't know if I'm still gonna call him like Top G. I think calling yourself Top G is a little grandiose and over the top, but I can see where he gets that thought of himself if he's willing to do this sort of self-deprecating thing here to get a message out in his comic book. I gotta respect it. It's yet unclear if this is meant to be a completely faithful retelling of his experiences. Well, if he's stopping bullets with his mind, I highly doubt it's completely faithful in its retelling, or one that plays up some of the details. Additionally, the Andrew Tate comic is priced at $97. This isn't for the entire series as it comes out, but rather that's the price for the very first issue. It's safe to assume the future entries in the series will have similar cost. It isn't clear how long the comic is, with the site only describing the comic as an all-time collectible. I'd say that's fair. I mean, I think that might be one of the most honest things that Andrew Tate has probably said. Yeah, I could consider this an all-time collectible. Like, your boy has indie comic creators come on the show all the time, and I love supporting indie comics. I've pledged to many indie comics, and I will continue to do so. But there's something a little bit special about this all-time collectible Andrew Tate Top G comic that I don't know if I can pass up. This is, I mean, does art imitate life, imitate art? I don't know where the reality lines start to blend and where the world lines fall apart and what point we're at in this sort of Steins Gate world arc that we're in, but oh my god, I'm so glad we're living where we're living. The writers are on strike in Hollywood. They ain't making any more She-Hulk, but we're getting the Andrew Tate comic. That said, if we're going by the promotional images of Tate holding and reading the comic, it isn't exactly a novel-length affair. There aren't that many content creator-backed comic book series, although there is one that comes to mind as a point of comparison, Moist Critical's God Slap series. I did forget about this, but yeah, I guess Moist Critical also is known for the God Slap series, Charlie, Penguin C0, whatever you want to call him. They don't really talk about Drunk 3PO or Eric July, like I mentioned before, who are also content creators who, very much make comics, and I guess maybe they just don't know about them, maybe they're too under the radar, or they definitely want to ignore Rippaverse success. That's possible as well. But I mean, yeah, God Slap, I imagine, is pretty popular. I know that he talks about it all the time. It makes good money, so fair enough. In comparison to Tate's series, the first book in his God Slap series is $12 for a physical copy and $5 for a digital one, making Tate's comic more than 8 times more expensive if we're comparing physical versions. Whether Tate's fans can justify the price tag for his comic remains to be seen. Well, let me tell you, your boy ain't a Tate fan. I'm also not a Tate hater. Like, if I'm being completely transparent, I don't really have an opinion on him one way or the other. He's like the vast majority of individuals. Sometimes he says dumb shit, sometimes he says smart shit, and I'll take the good with the bad and just make my assessment on a case-by-case basis. So I don't think it's the fans that are going to need to justify the price tag for this comic. I think it's people like me who are just so dumbfounded by the state of nerd culture and really just the state of culture in general in 2023 in the modern age that we might just buy it for the lulz. Do you remember when all those nerds decided to crash the GameStop stock? There we go. That was very difficult to say. The GameStop stock, and buy it for real cheap and then resell it once it came back up. Like, they crashed an entire company's stock. That's like what we're doing here. That's the people who want to see this comic succeed, is the people who are just in it for the lulz, but if good stuff comes out of it, that's even better. This has been a sort of scatterbrained and all over the place video, if you've noticed a lot of quick edits and cuts, and that's because I don't know what to make of this. Do you know how many times I had to reshoot certain parts of this because I was dying laughing? I said at the beginning of the video, at least I think I did, that I read through this article. I didn't realize, I had not read the complete article. I'd read about half of it and thought it was done because there was a little like advertisement that I thought was the end. So when we got near the actual end of it, there was new information like the holding off snipers and stopping bullets with his mind I hadn't gotten to. That was just so unbelievably funny. I could not do this entire thing with a straight face. So I want to know what you guys think. Are you interested in the Top G Breaking the Illusions comic? Are you interested in where this could go? Could this become its own universe of comics? Could we start getting the MCU, but instead of the MCU, it's like the TCU, the Tate Cinematic Universe, where it combines all these different comics, and we start getting live action Andrew Tate movies. Who would you cast as live action Andrew Tate? I'm thinking he wants someone like big, like him. I think he wants like The Rock to play himself. If I had to take a guess, if I just spin a yarn, I'm wondering if The Rock would play Andrew Tate. This could branch out into something magnanimous. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on Twitter. You can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, not always about comic books, but also anime, movies, Magic the Gathering, you name it. It's all here in the Nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.